this session tonight is just going to be like a big amalgamation of everything we've done in the past 8 weeks. And it's a little bit of a tune-up. So loads of movement for the big synovial joints in our body. So we're talking shoulders and hips, which we all know are two kind of very integral body parts when we start talking about caving, because we're constantly using the hips when we prusik, when we do any kind of like sort of climbing movements. We're moving into hip flexion, some rotation, but also we put so much demand, so much stress on our shoulder girdle as well. So we need to have a lot of freedom and capacity to stabilize through that space. So a nice sequence that looks at these big synovial fluids and hopefully just gives us a bit of a tune up. So it'll be a great class to revisit if you're feeling like I just need to move some of this stuff out. Not going to be particularly difficult, but we will have quite a bit of opportunity to get a bit hoppy with things. If you want to increase that element of work, you will be more than welcome or invited to pursue those options. So we're going to start on the backs this evening. So if you come down onto your mats and just lay down, you want to make sure that as you lay down, your feet aren't too bunched up near the bum, so that when you lift up into that low bridge, you'll have space without shortening the low back. So your feet are going to be at about hip distance apart. As usual, make sure you're pushing down into the big toe sides of the feet. From here, you'll scoop the tailbone up, so you get a sense of the low belly drawstringing together, then push into the feet, lift the low back up off the ground and come through into a nice low bridge. So don't come up too high that you start to destabilize the low back and lose that connection to the core, because we're going to increase demand in a moment coming into a one-legged variation of bridge. So feel the low belly hug in, then shuffle your right foot to the center line of your mat. So if you imagine this straight line drawn from the top of the mat down to the bottom, right in the middle of your mat, that's where your right foot is going to go. From here, you've got a couple of options. If you're still learning how to stabilize through the right hip, all you're going to do is pick the left heel up off the ground, and you'll notice how there's a lot more of this weight shift into the right hip. If you're fine and you can almost meet that demand, you'll pick the left foot up off the ground and bring the knee directly over the hip. So you're in this hip flexion. Pull your toes back towards the shin. Make sure your pelvis doesn't drop from one side or into the other. So if you imagine a spirit level just resting on the front of the pelvis, that bubble stays in the middle. Let's start to add some movement. Bring the left fingers into your left hip, then begin to rotate the thigh externally, so swiveling the thigh outwards, dialing the foot inwards, and then internally. So as you swivel, again, you're making sure that the pelvis doesn't rock about from side to side. So if you imagine someone wrapping the hands around the outer rims of the pelvis, holding that ball steady, and you're moving independently at the hip. So swiveling that thigh, just feeling it turn in and out, and feel it in your fingers as well. Notice that movement. If something feels stuck, don't force it. Just go to a point where you meet that resistance and then swivel the opposite way. So try to make the movement nice and fluid. I'm hoping you feel a lot of work in that right glute. Keep the belly pulled down and in so you're not feeling any pressure in the low back. Come back into neutral. Step the foot down, left foot to the center line of your mat. Feel the glute grip. Pick the right heel up off the ground to begin with. Then if you can meet that demand, you'll unweigh the right foot, stack the knee over the hip. The knee is bent, right fingers will stuff into the hip crease, and you can start to swivel. So for me, I've got a lot more capacity to rotate in my right hip. I know that this movement feels a lot smoother for me, and that's absolutely fine. You might notice that in your own body. You might notice the opposite. Just wherever you are, take that time to notice how everything is feeling now, because we're going to be coming back to this at the end of the sequence. Keep the low belly drawstringing in, pelvis stays level. One more swivel, and we'll step the foot down, pause, in our low bridge. So the low back stays lifted, the glutes stay switched on. Let's reach our hands up towards the ceiling, fingertips point up to the sky, stretch the wrists. So you'll grab hold of the right fingers with the left hand and pull back here. Stick that thumb out to the left. So you're opening up the entire pad of the hand. Some nice big breaths. Remembering that if you feel any sort of pressure in the low back, come down a little bit lower in that bridge and focus on really scooping that tailbone up so you get a lot of length in the low back. Now let's swap over hands. So grab hold of the left fingers with the right hand and pull back here, sticking that thumb out to the right. Low belly stays engaged. Keep the low back off the ground. And then you'll release the hands onto the thighs. Just do one little lift up into the hands. And then slowly just tiptoe your spine back down onto the ground, noticing what feels maybe a bit clunky when you come down onto the floor. Again, no judgments, just noticing where it feels a little bit stuck in the body, and know that we will be moving through it. So for our abdominals, you're going to bring the hands to the back of the skull and hug the elbows in. So those elbows are really pulled in towards the skull and they end up pointing up to the ceiling. Now feel your sacrum connected to the floor. The low belly and the ribs are tucked in. Take a big breath in. And as you exhale, peel your shoulder blades off the ground. It's only going to be a little lift, but feel that clearance and automatically drawstring the front of your body in a little bit more. On your inhale, lower down onto the back. Exhale, you're going to bring it up. Unweigh the left foot, bring the knee over the hip. And just as we did in the bridge, let's swivel externally, internally, back to center, release the foot. Inhale, lower down. Exhale, coming up, feel the front of the body gather back and in. Keep those elbows hugged in. The right leg will lift, bring the knee over the hip. We'll just do a swivel in, out, back to center, release the foot. Inhale, lower down. Exhale, lift, feel the shoulder blades come away from the floor. Lean the skull into the hands, pick the left leg up. We're going to swivel a few times now, so not just one time. Hold it up here, keep the pelvis nice and steady. Abdominals stay engaged. Come back to center, release the foot, inhale, lower down. Right side, exhale and lift. Pick the right foot up off the ground, bring the knee over the hip, begin to rotate at the hip, rotating externally, internally, externally and internally. So really controlling the movements. Come back to center, bring the foot to the floor. Inhale, lower the shoulders. One more option to add on. So exhale and lift. Unweigh the left leg. Begin to swivel it just a few times. And then come into an internal rotation. Then bring the right hand and push the hand into the left knee. And respond by lifting up a little bit higher. You should feel all sorts of magic happening. Come back to center, bring the hand to the head, foot to the floor, inhale and lower. Last round, exhale, coming up. Pick the right foot up, you'll just swivel it externally, internally, then bring the left hand and push it into the right knee, then push the knee back into the hand as a response. And you should feel some oblique activation begin to light up. Release the hand, bring it back to the skull, lower the foot, and then just completely let go. Walk your feet out so the feet are resting on the outer edges of your mat. Keep your belly firm, then guide your knees out to your left. So you're not going to just kind of collapse the knees down. You're just going to take the knees to a point where you feel the resistance and pull back in the belly, then extend. So lift the right glute up into the front of the right hip, and you'll get a nice little hip opening here for the anterior hip capsule. Reach the arms into a T shape and breathe. Just make sure here you're not feeling any sort of tension in and around the right knee. If you feel any sort of compression, bring the knee up higher so you're not dropping it in so much, but you kind of stay on the sole of the foot and have a bit of this internal rotation at the right without overdoing it. One more breath, keep pulling into the low belly. Then guide the knees back up into center. Exhale, release to the right. Keep the belly pulled in, then lift up at the right glute. So you want to make sure that you're not shortening, not compressing in the low back, and directing that downwards into the knees. So holding that neutral pelvis, keeping the abdominals activated, even though we're in a somewhat relaxing twist. Come back through to center, draw the knees into your chest, and bring yourself up and through into all fours. So taking it into your tabletop position. Pause here. Keep the front of the body lifted. So remember, you might have to snug the knees in a little bit because if they end up too far back, you pitch up the pelvis and shorten the low back space. So bring the knees a little bit further forwards than you think you want them to make sure you can maintain that lift of the front body into the back. Now we've done a lot of work at the hips. We're going to start to integrate some movement into the shoulders. We'll be doing some scapular puffs this evening, and you can think of that movement as a little bit of a cat-cow, but we'll be isolating it to the shoulders. So as you inhale, you're going to lightly kiss the shoulder blades into one another without letting the belly or the head drop. And as you exhale, you'll lift up into the space between the scapula. Inhale, lightly kiss them together. Exhale, lift up into the space between them. So keep moving. And again, notice, so you're going to get sick of hearing that word, how it feels in and around the shoulder blades. Does that movement feel fluid? Does it feel a little bit stuck? Do you potentially feel movement happening elsewhere? Just noticing these things and being fine with it, but really trying to encourage to the best of your ability for the movement to come purely from the shoulder blades. So just a few more little puffs up and down. And then we're going to make the movement a little bit bigger, turning it into a cat-cow. So the next time you inhale, lightly kiss the shoulder blades together. You can let the belly drop a little bit, the low back arch, gaze slightly ahead. And as you exhale, you'll lift into the space between the scapula, root your tailbone down, and let the head relax, coming into your cat. Inhale, lightly soften the scapula, gaze slightly ahead. The belly can drop a little bit as a result, but make sure you're not compressive. Exhale, lift into the space between the hands, so between the shoulders, let the head relax, root the tail down. We're going to do one more here. Inhale, chest draws forwards and through. Exhale, you'll lift the belly up into the body, broaden into the space in the back, and pause here. And just have a little wiggle from side to side. The ribs will have a bit of an opportunity to shimmy here. And sometimes that just feels really nice in and around the lats and the serratus. So the serratus is the muscle that cuffs underneath the shoulder blade that we talked about last week. So really lift up into any space where you feel tension. Let the head completely go. Then come back through to center. Lower your forearms down to the ground. You're going to take it into a dolphin pose. So with your forearms on your floor, you can interlace your fingers here. But if you feel enough freedom in the shoulders, you can have a go at keeping the palm of the hands flat on the ground. Wherever you are with the position of the hands, keep the elbows nice and narrow. So they're not all the way out here, but the elbows will be underneath the shoulders. So you've got that good joint stacking. Let the head relax, but keep the crown of the head lifted from the floor. And like you did in your serratus puffs, lift up into the space between the shoulder blades. So you're almost doming into that upper back. Tuck the toes under. Just hover the knees about an inch off the ground to begin with. And imagine the knees are going to stay bent as you lift the bum up. Try to keep a crouch in the knees And look at the toes to make sure you're pushing down into the big toe side of the foot. Lift the belly up into the body, then begin to rock up and down onto the balls of the feet. As you rock up onto the balls of the feet, make sure you keep pushing into that big toe mound. So you've got that connection between you, your feet, and the earth. Don't think so much about those knees moving about. Direct the movement to come from your toes. So mobilizing the feet is super, super important, because if you think day in, day out, our feet are bound up in our shoes. So giving them a little bit of freedom, just do one more lift. Then lower the knees down to the ground, uncurl the toes, sit the bum back as far to the heels as you comfortably can, and extend the arms ahead. Now you'll come onto the little finger sides of the hands, so the thumbs point up to the sky, and just let the head relax. It can stay lifted off the ground if it doesn't quite comfortably come all the way to the floor. Now in this position, press down into the little finger sides of the hands and lift up into the upper back. So it's a nice little lat stretch here in a child's pose. So you can be slightly forwards as well if you can't fully flex out the hips, but just make sure you keep the belly lifted up into the body so you're not collapsing into the low back. So take some nice big breaths in and out. Big breath in and out. So just stay here, just be here, noticing how you're feeling at this moment in time. So just to sort of cap off our last session and coming to the importance of knowing the body and understanding its functionality, there's just a little passage from one of my favorite books. So stay in your child's pose. You can soften into it a little bit more. But just before we start to move, remember that the body, as often as it's likened to a machine, is so much more than that. Your body works 24 hours a day for decades without, for the most part, needing regular servicing or the installation of spare parts. It runs on water and a few organic compounds. It's soft and rather lovely, and is accommodatingly mobile and pliant. It reproduces itself with much enthusiasm, makes jokes, feels affection, appreciates a red sunset and a cooling breeze. And how many machines do you know that can do any of that? There's no question about it. You're truly a wonder. But then so, it must be said, is an earthworm. So with that in mind, knowing that your body is so capable of carrying you, whatever it is you're doing, you'll come back up onto your hands and your knees, tuck the toes under, lift up into a downward dog, and just let the head relax. Knees can be nice and bent here, just give the legs a little pedal about, but keep the integrity in the upper body. So by giving the legs a little pedal about, you're giving yourself an opportunity to just release the hamstrings a bit. Keep breathing. And then you'll come back into static and step the feet to the top of your mat. Ready to work through our sequence this evening to just tune our bodies up. So coming through to the top of the mat, so you might have to have a little bit of buoyancy in the knees to enable you to root the tail down and to find and retain that neutral pelvis. So imagine the entire back line of the body, the back of the skull, the shoulder blades, and the sacrum are in a nice long line, holding that line as we move. As you inhale, reach the hands forward and up. Feel the shoulder blades glide up the back of the body and keep hugging in through the front of your ribs. Exhale, bend the knees, sit back into the hips and fold forwards, keeping the spine long. Knees can be as bent as they need. You'll step the right foot back, lower the knee, uncurl the toes. Make sure the knee is directly under the sit bone. Right glute is firm, front of the body draws into the back. We're going to roll the shoulders immediately. So this is a lovely movement for the ball and socket joint of your shoulder. If you feel any clicking, if you feel any cracking, don't worry about it. That's just that synovial fluid, sort of going from a little bit more of this kind of crunchy consistency, one into more fluid as we add some more movement. So we're rolling backwards. Come back into stillness. Bring your hands down to the ground for your plank position. So your hands will plug into the floor. Your shoulders will stay over the wrists as you step the left foot back. Lower the knees. Keep the front of the body lifted, tailbone roots down towards the heels. Exhale, lower slowly. Inhale for cobra. Feel the belly lift into the body. So you're not pushing into the hands and shortening the lower back, but lifting the anterior body up into the back. Exhale, come onto your knees, lift into a down dog, walking the feet in a little bit to heighten the apex of your pose. Be up on the heels, have those knees bent wherever you are, find long lines of energy. Pick the right foot up. Try to keep your hands glued to the floor as you step the right foot as far forwards as you can. If it falls short of the top of the mat, then you can pick the leg up and step it through, but we've got to make the core work first. Lower the left knee, the top of the foot, arms will dangle down. You're in a 90-90 lunge, roll the shoulders. So the reason we call it a 90-90 lunge, if you've not caught on yet, I've got a 90 degree at the back of my left knee and a 90 degree at the back of my right knee, 90 degree angle at the front of my right hip as well. So everything's nice and symmetrical. Come back through into stillness. Hands come down to the ground, and as you exhale, your left foot will step in to meet the right. Inhale, rise to stand, keep the spine long. Exhale, sit back into the hips and fold. This time you're going to step the left foot back. You'll lower the knee, but not the toes, and reach your arms straight ahead. The palms will point one another. So usually I do this with a block, but we might not have one to hand, and that's fine. Imagine you were squeezing a block between your hand, and as you exhale, you're going to rotate your ribs to the right. Inhale to center. Exhale, rotate. Inhale to center. So you're not just reaching the arms out to the side and destabilizing your foundations. You're holding your shit together and turning from the ribs. So this is pure thoracic rotation. Keep that left glute super, super firm. A couple more here. And then you'll come back through to center. Arms are in a position for you to take them down to the ground and step the right foot back for plank. Lower the knees. Keep the length in the spine. Exhale, lower slowly. Inhale, pull back for cobra. Exhale, lift into downward facing dog. The arms stay strong. Don't drag the chest back, but keep the shoulders tacked onto the ribs. Pick your left leg up, keep the hips squared. Draw the thigh in towards the belly and step the left foot as far forwards as you can. Pick it up and step it through if you need an extra hand. Lower the right knee, but not the toes. Reach your arms ahead. Right glute is firm. Imagine you are holding a block between your hands. Exhale, turn the ribs to the left. Inhale to center. Exhale to the left. Inhale to center. So remember, none of this is happening. You're holding the pelvis steady and just getting that rotation from the ribs. Keep your glutes super, super switched on. It's hard, so you're only turning into the direction of your leg. One more here. Come back to center, bring your hands to the ground. As you exhale, your right foot will step forwards to meet the left. Inhale, rise up to stand. Moving into our first sequence, exhale, sit back into the hips and fold. Right foot will step back, you'll lower the knee but not the toes. This is similar, reach your arms in straight ahead. We're going to do those rotations. So as you exhale, turn into your left leg. Inhale, center. Just 3 times, exhale to the left. And then to center. Last one here. You're going to pause in that twist, then pull the left elbow back behind you, almost as though you were shooting a bow and arrow. If it feels fine for you, you can extend the left arm back as well, but that will give you a greater opening along the chest wall. You're in a 90-90 with a twist with T-shaped arms. Keep that right glute firm. We're bringing it into our variation on twisted crescent. Your right hand will come down to the ground and your left arm continues to reach up towards the ceiling. Lean into the right shoulder blade so you feel the chest wall opening. Let the head relax. Then begin to sweep that left arm under the left leg as you exhale. Inhale, sweep the arm back up towards the sky. Exhale, thread it under. Inhale, open it up. So as you twist, keep the right glute firm. And again, feel that movement come from the ribs. It's not the arm that's forcing you back. The arm is just coming along for the ride. It's all working, it's all moving from the core. Just do one more little lift up here. Pause. If it feels right for you, you can lift the right knee up off the ground, really lifting up through the right glute. Let that head just go. Big breath in and out. We're meeting up in our plank position. Hands come down to the ground. You'll step the left foot back. Now we're going to transition from plank into down dog, but using our feet. So we'll be leading through the left leg. Step the left foot just a couple inches up, followed by the right foot. So you end up coming through into a down dog. Then step the left foot to the back of your mat. Bring the shoulders over the wrists. Step the right foot back. Left foot again. Left foot steps forwards just a little bit. Right foot will meet it. Then left foot steps back into plank. Shoulders come over the wrists. Right foot steps back. We'll do one more. Left foot forwards, followed by the right. Pause in your downward facing dog. Like we did at dolphin, lift and lower your heels. So you're rocking up onto the balls of your feet. Let the head relax. Keep the arms strong and straight. Pause on the lift. Then walk your hands back to your feet. We get a little break from being on our hands. Sit back into your heels. Sit the bum back even more. Let the head relax and come up onto the tips of your fingers for your happy squat. Big breath in. Exhale out. Bring the hands to the hips. Inhale, rise up to stand. We're going to balance on the left leg. Bring the right knee up into the chest. We've been here before. Let's rotate the thigh externally. So your foot ends up kind of pointing to the left as your thigh turns out. And then internally, smaller movement. Come back to neutral. Step the foot about halfway up. Land on the right leg. Bring the left knee up. Rotate externally. And then internally. Back to neutral, step the left foot to the top of your mat. The right knee will lift. Nice little movement here. You're going to step the right foot across and to the outside of the left leg. The knees can be bent and you'll sit back into the hips, almost as though you were doing a curtsy here, bringing the fingertips down to the ground. You can bend your knees as much as you have to keep the spine long. Shimmy the ribs from left to right, just as you did in that little cat and static hold. Just shaking out any tension, moving out the body and really noticing where you feel any sort of, I don't want to say discomfort, but any just not freedom, any stagnancy. There you go, that's a better word. Come back to center. Fun little move. We're going to uncross the left leg to the left. So step the left foot off your mat and rise up to stand. We're going to move into some squats. So as you exhale, slide your hands down your legs, sit back into the hips, pause. Inhale, come back up, keep the belly firm. Exhale, squat down. Inhale, you can come up onto your tiptoes. Exhale, sit back and squat. Inhale, rise up, keep the glutes firm, maybe come back onto the tiptoes. Exhale, drop down. Inhale, rise up. Just do one more here. Exhale, sit back. The next time you come up, you'll pick the left knee up, crisscross it over the right, step the right foot out. Other side to do. Inhale, reach the hands forward and up. Exhale, sit back into the hips and fold. We've done this loads already. You'll now slide the left foot back, lower the knee, but not the toes, and extend your arms straight ahead. Imagine you are holding a block between the hands. Keep that glute firm. Just 3 times. Take a big breath in. Exhale, rotate to the right. Inhale, center. Exhale to the right. Just one more here. And remembering, we're pausing in that twist. And like we would a bow and arrow, you can pull back through the right elbow. So you feel that shoulder blade lightly hugging in. Option is there for you to extend into a T shape. Keep pulling back through your navel. Modified twisted crescent. Left hand to the ground. Right hand will keep reaching up. Lean into the left shoulder. Feel the ribs spin open and the chest wall broaden. Inner thighs continue to hug in. As you exhale, thread the right arm under the right leg. Inhale, flag the right hand back up. Feel the ribs spin open. Exhale, thread it through. Just keep moving like this. Inhale, opening it back up. So just work with your own breath. Doesn't matter if you fall out of sync with anyone else. Wherever you are, keep your center held together. The neck is the last thing to move. Really encourage that rotation to come from your ribs first and foremost. You'll pause on the next lift. And if you like to here, tuck the left toes under and lift the knee up off the ground. Twisted crescent. Let the head just go heavy. Big breath in. Exhale out. Right hand to the floor. Stepping it back into that plank position. Right foot will meet the left. Stay strong in your plank. Step the right foot in just a little bit, followed by the left. Heightening the apex of your pose for down dog. Step the right foot back, slide the shoulders forward, left foot steps back. 3 times, right foot forwards, followed by the left. Down dog. Right foot steps back, shoulders slide forward, left foot steps back. Last one, right foot in. Left foot follows, pause here. Walk the hands to the feet. We're unweighing the hands a little bit here. Sit back into the heels, into the hips. Happy squat. Really traction the thigh bones up into your hip sockets. Big breath in. Exhale out. Slide the hands to the ankles. Inhale, rise to stand. We're firming down into the right glute. Pick the left knee up. This time we're going to rotate internally first. So the foot will always swivel out as the thigh swivels in. Don't let that right hip kind of drop out. Hold it together and then externally rotate. Come back to neutral. Extend the right leg, step it down. Or left leg, step it down. Right leg will lift. Left hip stays active. Internally rotate the right. Externally rotate. Come back to center. Right foot steps down. Top of the mat. Left knee lifts. It's that fun little move. Left leg will cross to the right. Sit back into the hips and fold forwards. You can bend your knees as much as you need to here. Fingertips come onto the ground. Have a little shake of the ribs. Hopefully just feeling a little bit more fluid movement here. Let the head go heavy. One more breath. Come back into that stillness. Uncross the right leg. Step it out. We're in a squat and we'll extend up the hips, rise to stand. Sit back into the hips, squat down. You can add the little heel lift if that feels good for you. Wherever you are, keep the front of the body drawn into the back. So you're not sticking the bum out and kind of just moving through the back. but we're really utilizing those hips and those glutes. One more. You'll pause on your next lift. Pick the right knee up, cross the right leg in front of the left, uncross the left leg. Coming back through to the top of your mat. Grab a little drink of water before we move into some sun salutations, hopefully building up a little bit more heat. So, when you're ready, just a couple of rounds. Remember, it's got to feel good for you, but I'm hoping we feel quite buoyant in our feet. So maybe we'll have a go at doing some hops if that's accessible for you tonight. So coming through to the tops of your mats, finding that neutral pelvis, we're going to hold this line of energy. As you inhale, reach the hands forwards and up. Exhale, sit back into the hips and fold. Wrists will land under the shoulders. Step or hop to plank. Feel the buoyancy in the toes. Exhale, you can lower your knees or lower down in one piece. Inhale, pull back for cobra. Front of the body still lifts into the back. Exhale, down dog. Lift the sit bones up. Slide your feet in a little bit. Inhale, come up onto the tippy toes. Exhale, bend the knees and push from the big toe mounds of the feet. If you want to have a little hop to the top of your mat. Inhale, come up to stand. Well done. Exhale, sit back into the hips and fold. You can step to plank or hop it back if that feels light for you. Lower down. Inhale, pull back cobra. Exhale, down dog. Stay here. Take a big breath in. Exhale out. Pick the left leg up to hip height. Keep your hips squared, so you're not rolling that hip open, but you're holding everything square to the top of your mat. Now you're going to look to step the left foot halfway up your mat, then lift the left leg back up into three-legged down dog. Step it halfway up and lift it back up into three-legged down dog. Just one more here. Step, lift, and the next time you step, you'll pick the right leg up for a standing L position. Keep the left knee bent here and bring the left fingers into the left hip crease and push back so you feel that glute catch you, because we're going to need that glute to fire as we inhale, push into the left leg and rise up to stand. Right knee to the chest. Rotate externally. Rotate internally. Come back to neutral. We're bringing it into an aeroplane. So you'll extend the right leg back. Left knee stays bent. You can stuff the fingers into the hip crease. Make sure that glute catches you. Inhale, push into the left leg. Right knee lifts. Pause here. Bring the right hand to the top of the right knee and push down into the knee, just as we did in our abdominals. Really resist. So the right knee is kind of that hip height, and you're physically pushing that hand down into the hip. One more breath. And we're going to step this leg out into warrior two. Open the arms up into a T shape. Feel your sit bones lightly engaged and gain the sense of lift from the base of your pelvis up into your torso. So you're nice and tall here. Take a big breath in. Exhale, you'll reverse it. Drop the right hand onto the right leg. Reach the left hand up to midnight. Inhale to warrior two. Exhale, warrior variation. The left forearm lightly lands. The right hand reaches up to midnight. If you want a little bit more, inhale, come up. Exhale, you'll reverse and you'll sweep this left arm back towards 3 o'clock. Maintain a lift in the left ribs. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, warrior variation. The left forearm lands. You can reach the right hand to midnight or to about 9 o'clock. Keep a lift up into the ribs. Inhale, rise up. You're going to step the right foot to the top of your mat and come into a chair position. Arms can come to prayer at heart center. Sit back into your hips. Keep the belly lifted so you're not arching in the low back and spilling, but you're holding it together. As you exhale, take a little twist to your right. Inhale to center. Exhale to the left. Nice little turns from the T-spine. Inhale, center. Exhale, right. Inhale, center. Exhale, left. If you want a little bit more, left elbow comes onto the top of the right knee and you'll keep sitting back to accommodate. Inhale to center. Exhale, right elbow can come onto the top of the left knee as you sit back more to accommodate. Inhale to center. One more from side to side, so you don't have to go all the way down. If you don't have that twist, that's absolutely fine. And as we inhale, we'll rise back up to stand. Reach the arms up. Exhale, sit back into the hips and fold. Step or hop into your plank position. You can lower the knees or lower down in one piece. Stay strong here. Inhale for your cobra. Exhale for downward facing dog. Stay in your down dog. Have a bend in the knee so you can really lift the pelvis up. Right leg lifts to hip height. Step the right foot about halfway up your mat. Just tap it down, then bring it back up to three-legged down dog. Tap it halfway up and lift it back up into three-legged down dog. Just a couple more like this. And the next time you step it down, you're keeping the right knee bent. You're feeling the glute respond, and you'll pick the left foot up just to hip height for a standing L position. So your right foot is forwards, your hands are ahead of the right leg, and the left leg is lifted. Get ready for it. You'll push down into the right leg, lift the left knee up, just to hip height, rotating externally, then internally, come back to center, send it back into an aeroplane. So you can stuff your fingers into that right hip crease and extend the left leg back behind you. Right knee stays bent, so you're not locking out and losing that capacity for the glute to hold you here. Inhale, step down into the right foot, lift the left knee up. Gonna do this one more time. We'll move it back, hinge into the hip. Inhale, bring it up. Stepping the left foot to the back of your mat for warrior two. Open the arms up into that T shape. Keep the sit bones lightly engaged, low belly hugging in. Right toes are pointing to the top of your mat. Take a big breath in. Exhale, reverse. The left hand drops down, right hand up to midnight. Inhale, rise up. Exhale, variation. Right forearm lands, left hand to midnight. Inhale, coming up. If you feel more freedom in the shoulders, exhale, reverse. Right arm reaches back a little bit more. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, variation. Right forearm lands, left arm reaches maybe a little bit over. Inhale, coming up. We'll keep sweeping the left arm through. Step the left foot to the top of your mat. Sit back into your hips. Stay here. Add a little twist, or you can do elbow to knee, but you need more hip flexion if you're going to bring the elbow to the knee. Don't force it, especially from the low back. Keep the movement at the ribs. That will be a safe range. If not, we stay up a little bit higher. No worries. One more. Come back through to center. Inhale, arms will reach up. Exhale, hands down by sides. Grab a drink of water before we put it all together. So a lot is going on, a lot of movement in key areas of our bodies where we do feel a lot of restriction, or where most people feel a lot of restrictions: the shoulders, T-spine and hips, and everything else in between. So as always, in the stream, in this last little bit, there will be options for you to add on if you want it, but don't feel like you're under any pressure to take it further if you're still focusing on consolidating, because we need stability first and foremost if we're going to feel good in these bigger movement patterns. So when you're ready, come through to the top of your mat. Our beginning is a little bit different to how we've done it already. So as you inhale, you're going to reach your hands forwards and up. As you exhale, you'll sit back into the hips and fold forwards. Hands come down to the ground. Step the right foot back and immediately bring the torso upright. So the right knee is going to stay lifted and we're in a little bit more of this crescent lunge. Have a buoyancy to the right knee so you can root the tailbone down and feel a lovely stretch coming up the front of the right hip. Right glute stays firm. From here, we're immediately going to swing the arms. So it's a bigger movement, but hopefully those ribs are feeling more potential to turn, to spin, and the arms just feel great. So let the ribs turn, let the chest move. And you're going to pause with the right arm reaching forward, left arm reaching back. Keep the belly pulled back into the body, and you can drop the left hand down onto the right glute and reach the right hand up so you get this expansion in the front of your body. Take a big breath in and out. Inhale, coming up, bring the right hand down to the ground for a twisted crescent. Left hand reaches up. We've been here before. You can add your arm swings or arm sweeps, but if you want a bigger movement, you're going to pause in the reach, backstroke the left hand to the back of the room, and just draw big circles with that left arm instead. So it's a bigger movement because we've got circumduction, so we're rotating at the entire ball and socket joint as opposed to just abducting and adducting. So just keep rolling, keep spinning. And this is a little bit different. Left hand to the ground. We're cutting out that plank and just stepping the left foot back for downward dog. You can pause here and focus on your little heel lifts, or you can take it into a three-legged down dog. Left leg lifts to hip height. You can add some heel lifts on the right foot, or you can add some little hops if that feels buoyant enough through the right foot. If you're going for the hops, the left leg stays totally stable and you're pushing down into the right big toe side of the foot. One more little hop. Let's step the left foot about halfway up. Right leg will lift. We're in our standing L position. Inhale, push into the left leg and pick the right knee up. This is a little bit different. Instead of moving into airplane, we're going to eccentrically. So that just means really slowly lower the hands back down to the ground as we extend the right leg to the back of the room. So we're taking it back into that standing L position. This is great for your hamstrings. Inhale, push down. Maybe we add a little bit of a twist. The right knee will lift. Left hand catches the right knee. Right hand reaches back. Bring it back through nice and slow. Eccentric control. Hands will lower as the right leg extends back behind you. Tap the fingers to the ground. Inhale, just push. Last one. Maybe we add a little twist. And if you want a bit more, left hand will slide down a little bit lower, maybe towards the heel or the foot or the toe. And we can go for a little extension, but know that left leg is going to be absolutely shaking. Then release the right leg from wherever you are, step the foot back and open up into warrior two. Take a big breath in. Exhale, reverse just one time. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, warrior variation. Inhale, coming up. You'll step the right foot to the top of your mat. Inhale, extend the arms, rise up to stand. Exhale, sit back into the hips. It's our second side now. Your left foot will step back, immediately bring your torso upright. Have a buoyancy to the left knee, tailbone roots down, left glute is firm, swing those arms. Let the ribs move freely, but know that they can move freely because of the consolidation at the pelvis. Like, really have fun with it. Few more. Last one, you'll pause with the left arm reaching forward, right arm reaching back. You can stay here, focusing on pulling back through your abs, or bring the right hand onto the left glute, reaching the left arm up and getting some opening at the front of the body without shortening the back. So it kind of looks a bit like this. You've gone too far. Keep the front of the body engaged, lengthen through the spine so it's pure spinal extension. Inhale, rise up, left hand to the ground, right hand reaches, twisted crescent. Keep the glutes lifted. You can add the sweeps, or our second option is circling the right arm. Need some more mobility for this movement though. Make sure it feels good. Maintain a neutral neck here, so you're looking down. And we'll pause with the reach. Step back into down dog, right hand to the ground, right foot steps back. Keep the knees nice and bent here so you can really lift the bum up and then begin to lift and lower the heels, or you can obviously add the lift of the right leg, add the lift of the left heel, or add a little hop, add a little push if it feels buoyant enough through the left side. Keep the right leg super, super stable. If you're going for those little pushes off the left toes, nice and light. Last one. Now we'll step the right foot halfway up, float the left leg up. You're in your standing L position. Right knee stays bent. The knee stays bent so we can feed the information into the glutes, and as we inhale, push into the right leg and lift the left knee up. Stay here to begin with. Nice and slowly, we'll extend the left leg back and begin to reach the hands to the ground. So fight that temptation to just fall into it and really feel that hamstring having to do that work. Then as you inhale, come up, you've got the option to grab the left knee with the right hand and extend the left arm back behind, so long as the hips stay squared onto the top of your mat. Exhale, moving it down, nice and slow. Keep the right knee bent, feel the glute work really hard. Inhale, push, and maybe we catch hold of the foot, if that feels good. You can also just come onto the calf and like extend a little bit. You don't have to go for that full sort of extension. Keep the belly pulled back. Right leg will be working super, super hard wherever you are. And now we'll step it out into warrior two. Reach the arms open. Nearly there, guys. Big breath in. Exhale, just reverse. Inhale, coming up. Exhale, variation. Right forearm lands, left arm sweeps. Inhale, coming up. Just step the feet together at the top of your mat. Grab a little drink if you'd like before we wind it down. So, hopefully feeling like we've moved about quite a bit, but that we feel just a little bit more freedom, like we feel really tuned up for doing it. So, when you're ready, you're going to come down onto your back. Plug your feet into the floor. We're just going to do a little stretch for the glutes because we've done a lot of work on them tonight. So this is our figure four stretch, a really nice way to just uncork that outer hip. And you'll begin by crossing the left leg over the top of the right. The ankle rests just at the bottom of that right thigh, where the thigh sort of attaches onto the knee. So you've created this figure four position of that leg. So you're not crossed directly over, but it's just the ankle that's crossed over the right thigh. Feel your sacrum connected to the ground. And this may well be enough for you if you feel like there's already a lot of pull in the outer left hip. If you want a little bit more, you'll begin to pick the right leg up off the ground and bring the knee in towards you. For most people, the legs are going to be biased towards the left. So just draw the legs a couple of inches to the right, and you'll feel a little bit more of a pull on that left hip. Keep your sacrum connected to the floor, your low belly hugging in. And if you can do so without jeopardizing the sacrum to floor connection, you can wrap your hands around the back of the right thigh, threading the left arm into the little gap between the legs. But if you do that and you start to pull the low back away from the ground, that's just showing that there is still restriction. So it's best just to keep the hands down by the sides so that you can hold that neutral position at the pelvis. So let that right leg go heavy. Heel draws in towards the bum. Big breath in and out. Big breath in and out. One more breath here. Step the right foot down. You'll uncross the left leg, but extend the left leg straight up towards the ceiling to begin with. And we're just going to swivel the thigh into external and internal rotation here. Right foot stays grounded on the floor. The left knee can be bent to whatever degree that enables you to extend the leg up. We'll come back to center. Step the left foot down. Cross the right leg over the top of that left thigh, externally rotating at the right hip. Feel the sacrum connect to the ground. You can stay here or unway the left leg and hug the knee in towards you. For me, this side just feels a little bit more restricted, so I'm not going to go for the grab, but you're more than welcome to thread the arms under and around if that lets you maintain the connection of sacrum to the ground. If you feel the sacrum pulling away from the mat, just keep the hands down by the sides and make it a little bit more of an active stretch. Draw the legs just a couple of inches to the left to bias them to center and feel just a greater pull along that right outer hip. Big breath in and out and in and out. Just one more breath here. Step the left foot down nice and slow, extend the right leg up and just begin to swivel the thigh, internal and external rotation from the hip. And now we'll come back into stillness. Bring the right foot to the ground and extend the leg straight ahead for your final relaxation. If you have a little bit of instability in the low back, you're more than welcome to keep the feet grounded on the floor and let the knees knock in. You can grab a pillow, pop it underneath the thighs, just whatever you need that enables you to completely let go here. Because if there's any tension in the body, we're going to be reluctant to completely let go and let sort of the parasympathetic nervous system take over. So if you feel any tension, just make sure you can get yourselves really nice and comfy so that you're no longer trying to hold, no longer trying to grip, but simply letting yourself just be. Just a few moments here in relaxation to take in the work that we've put in today. And knowing that our bodies, these machines that we use to kind of get us day in, day out in our daily lives, but also the bodies that we use that takes us underground, that takes us on the hills. Know that just by giving it a bit of tune up from time to time, that we will be able to increase its longevity. Just taking that in as you lay here on your back. and allow all the tension to just disappear from the body. Allow your jaw to go heavy, for your lips to draw apart. Take a big breath in through the nose. Empty it out through the mouth. If it feels fine for you, reach the arms overhead and back behind you for a pencil stretch, reinforcing the sense of space, the sense of length throughout the entirety of the body. Taking a big breath in and letting it out. Gently snug the knees into the chest, one at a time, until you feel yourself compact into a little ball. Have a little rock from side to side, just freeing up any remaining tension in the low back. You can draw some little circles along the perimeters of the sacrum. And when you're ready to do so, just bring yourselves up into a seated position. Hopefully feeling a little bit more rejuvenated in these big movers in our bodies, and the shoulders, the hips, and obviously everything in between as well. So thank you very much for joining me for our last session. I hope you've enjoyed that.